The darkness of space held many secrets, but none were better at keeping secrets than the Velhari. Commander Zefka stood in the center of the Silent Echoes Bridge, his four arms moving across control panels with practiced grace. His insect-like eyes watched the screens that showed the third planet from the yellow star. Earth, the humans called it. For 3 full cycles, his ship had watched from the shadows. The silent echo was invisible to human technology, hidden behind energy fields that bent light around them like water around a stone. The Velhari had perfected this art long before they reached the stars. On their home world, those who could not hide did not live long. Report. Zefka clicked in the bioelectrical language of his people. The words formed as tiny sparks of light between his antenna. Silent and quick. Science. Officer Neem Tor turned from her station. Her silver carapace caught the dim blue light of the ship's displays. The humans continued to expand outward from their home system. 3 new mining stations have begun operations in the asteroid belt. Their technology advances faster than our models predicted. Zefka's mandibles clicked together, a sign of concern. The humans were supposed to be primitive. When the Velhari first found them, the humans barely had rockets that could reach their own moon. Now they had ships that could travel between stars, though slowly and clumsily compared to Velhari vessels. Their weapons? He asked, growing stronger each cycle. They have learned to make energy beams and explosive missiles. Their ships carry thick armor, but they are still no match for our technology. Nimtor paused, her antenna twitching. Commander, they are different from other species we have studied. At the Cultural Analysis Station, Queen Vey looked up from her work. She was smaller than the others, with darker markings on her shell that showed her specialty in studying alien minds. They do not behave as expected, she said. Most species become more careful as they grow stronger. Humans become more bold. Zefka moved to the main display screen. It showed a human ship approaching one of the mining stations. The vessel was crewed by Velhari standards, held together with metal welds and powered by controlled explosions. But it moved with purpose, unafraid of the vast emptiness around it. "Show me the communication intercepts," he ordered. The air filled with sounds that still surprised the Velhari crew, even after 3 cycles of listening. Human voices, not the clean bioelectrical pulses that Velhari used, but messy waves of air vibration that somehow carried meaning. Worse, they carried feelings. "Mining Station 7, this is Transport Delta 9. We've got supplies for you and some fresh coffee from Earth. Hope you're ready for us. Delta 9, you beautiful ship, get over here. We haven't had real coffee in 2 months. The recycled stuff tastes like engine oil." Laughter filled the speakers. The Velhari had no word for that sound in their language. It served no practical purpose, yet humans made it constantly. Queen Vey had been trying to understand it for many cycles. "They waste energy on useless sounds," Nimtor observed. "It makes them easy to track." But Queen Vey tilted her head, a gesture she had learned from watching humans. "I do not think it is waste. Listen to how their biosigns change when they make these sounds. Their stress levels drop. Their heart rates slow. The sounds make them ... calmer." Zefka studied the data streams flowing across his screens. Human. Ships moved through space like they owned it, broadcasting on open channels, sending signals in all directions. Any predator species could track them easily. It went against every survival instinct the Velhari possessed. "Perhaps that is why they advance so quickly," Queen Vey continued. "They do not spend energy hiding. They use it to build and explore instead. And that is why they will not survive long," Zefka replied firmly. "The galaxy has hunters. Species that see others as prey or resources. The humans make too much noise. They reveal themselves too easily." As if to prove his point, The ship's sensors detected new movement at the edge of the system. 3 vessels approached the mining stations, but these were not human ships. They moved with the deadly grace of predators, their hulls painted in, dark colors that absorbed sensor beams. Pirates, Nimtor identified them, Krell-class raiders. They have been tracking human shipping routes. On the screens, the human mining station continued its work, unaware of the approaching danger. Workers moved between the asteroids in small craft, cutting away valuable metals and loading them into storage containers. Their voices continued to chatter across the communication channels, discussing shift changes and meal plans and news from home. The pirate ships spread out into attack formation, their weapons powered up, energy signatures blooming like deadly flowers in the darkness. The humans had perhaps 10 minutes before the raiders would be in range. They will destroy the station, Nin Tor stated. The humans have only a few defensive weapons. The pirates are much stronger. Quinn V watched the display with growing anxiety. We could warn them. Send a message on their communication frequencies. No. Sefka's response was immediate and final. We do not interfere. We observe only. That is the way of our people. But they will die, Quinve protested. All of them. There are 300 humans on that station. That is not our concern. We are not warriors. We are watchers. We survive by staying hidden. Zefka moved back to his command position. Continue. Monitoring. Record everything. The Council will want to study how humans respond to superior force. The pirate ships moved closer. Their leader sent a message to the mining station, demanding surrender and the transfer of all valuable materials. The human response surprised even Zefka. Unknown vessels. This is Station Commander Jake Martinez. You are ordered to leave this system immediately. This facility is under the protection of the Earth Defense Force. The pirates laughed. The sound was harsh and cruel, nothing like human laughter. Little humans, their leader replied. Your defense force is many days away. You have no weapons that can hurt us. Surrender now, and we will let half of you live. Jake Martinez's voice came back steady and calm. We don't surrender. We don't run. And we don't let pirates take what we've worked for. All hands battle stations. Across the Velhari Bridge, antenna twitched with confusion. The humans were choosing to fight a battle they could not win. It made no logical sense. Any rational species would surrender or attempt to flee. But as the first weapons fired and space lit up with energy beams and explosions, the human voices continued to fill the communication channels. They were not screaming in panic or begging for mercy. They were coordinating their defense, encouraging each other, even making jokes as their situation grew desperate. Quinvy listened to it all, her analysis computers struggling to process the emotional complexity of human speech under stress. These beings were facing death, but their voices carried something she had never heard before, something that made her own bioelectrical pulses quicken in response. It was something the Valhari had lost long ago, buried under millions of years of hiding and survival. The pirates had superior weapons and armor, but the humans had something else entirely. They had courage. The battle was not going well for the humans. Commander Jake Martinez watched his defense grid fail piece by piece as the pirates hammered his station with energy weapons. The mining facility shook with each impact, and emergency lights cast red shadows across the command center. Hull breach in Section 7, called out Engineer Lisa Wong from her station. Sparks flew from damaged circuits around her, but she kept working. Sealing it now, but we can't take much more of this. Jake gripped his command chair as another blast rocked the station. Through the viewing ports, he could see the 3 pirate ships circling like vultures. Their black hulls seemed to swallow light, and their weapons glowed with deadly energy. His own defensive turrets fired back, but their shots barely scratched the enemy armor. Communications are down to 30%, reported Bobby Kim from Gakung Station. The young officer was barely 20 years old, fresh from Earth with dreams of adventure among the stars. Now he faced his first real battle, and possibly his last. Most of our transmitters are damaged. Keep trying to reach the defense force, Jake ordered. Even if they're too far away to help, someone needs to know what happened here. On the Silent Echo, the Velhari crew watched the one-sided battle with growing fascination. The humans were clearly losing, but they refused to give up. Every time the pirates destroyed one defensive system, the humans found another way to fight back. Remarkable. Nim Tor observed. They continue to resist even when victory is impossible. Their survival instincts appear to be malfunctioning. Quinvey studied the bio-readings from the human station. No, their survival instincts are working perfectly. Look at their stress responses. They are afraid, but they channel that fear into action instead of paralysis. Commander Zefka remained silent, his forearms working across his control panels. Part of him wanted to end this observation and move the Silent Echo to a safer distance. Watching other beings die had never been easy for the Velhari, even when those beings were alien. But his duty was clear. Observe and record, never interfere. The mining station, the situation grew more desperate by the minute. The main power core was failing, and life support systems flickered on and off. Jake knew they had perhaps an hour of air left, and that was if the pirates didn't breach the command center first. "Sir," Bobby Kim called out, his voice tight with stress, "I've lost contact with our outer defense platforms. The pirates have taken out our last heavy weapons." Jake closed his eyes for a moment, thinking of the 300 people counting on him to save them. Men and women who had come to this remote corner of space to build something new, to push humanity's borders ever outward. They deserved better than to die for the greed of pirates. "Bobby," he said quietly, "can you still broadcast on the emergency frequencies?" "Yes, sir, but who are we calling? There's no one close enough to help." Jake looked around at his crew. These brave people who had followed him into danger and stayed loyal even as death approached. Sometimes you don't call for help. Sometimes you just want someone to know you were here, that you mattered. Bobby's hands moved across his damaged console. "Broadcasting on all frequencies, sir. What do you want me to send?" Jake thought for a moment. Official reports seemed meaningless now. Military codes and formal language felt cold and empty. Instead, he remembered something his grandmother had told him long ago, when he was a scared little boy afraid of the dark. "When you're frightened," she had said, "sing something beautiful. It reminds you that there's still good in the world." "Bobby," Jake said, "do you remember that old song your family sang at the Harvest Festival? The one about home?" Bobby looked confused. "Sir, this is an emergency channel. Shouldn't we be sending a distress signal? We tried that. Now let's try something else. Trust me." The young communications officer took a deep breath. His voice was shaky at first, uncertain. But as he began to sing the simple melody his grandmother had taught him, something changed. The words spoke of green fields and blue skies, of families gathered around warm fires, of hope for tomorrow. "Take me home, to the place I belong, where the mountains are high and the rivers run strong." Other voices joined in from around the station. Lisa Wong added her voice from the engineering section, her words carrying over the intercom. Others picked up the melody, maintenance workers, miners, scientists. Some sang in different languages, but the tune remained the same. On the Silent Echo, the Velhari crew froze in amazement. They had recorded millions of hours of human communication, but this was something entirely new. The human voices blended together, creating patterns of sound that seemed to carry meaning beyond words. "What are they doing?" Nim Tor asked, her bioelectrical signals flickering with confusion. Quinvy leaned forward, her analytical instruments working overtime to process what they were hearing. They are combining their vocal patterns, but not for information transfer. The sound waves create harmonic resonances that affect their brain chemistry. They're dying, Sefka stated flatly. Their station is failing, their weapons are destroyed, and they waste their final breaths making noise. But even as he spoke, something strange was happening to the Volhari crew. Their bioelectrical communication systems, normally precise and controlled, began to pulse in rhythm with the human voices. The ship's computers registered it as a malfunction, but Quinvey realized it was something else entirely. "Commander," she said softly, "our neural patterns are synchronizing with their vocal frequencies. I've never seen anything like this." The human song continued, growing stronger instead of weaker as more voices joined in. Even as explosions rocked their station and death approached, they sang of home and hope and the belief that tomorrow could be better than today. Young Bobby Kim's voice rose above the others, clear and strong despite his fear. He sang not just with his voice, but with his heart, pouring all his love for life and family and dreams into the melody that carried across space. On the pirate ships, the raiders listened with growing irritation. They had expected screaming and begging, not this strange harmonious sound that seemed to make their own cruel laughter sound hollow and meaningless. "Enough of this noise," their leader snarled. "Destroy them now, all of them." The pirates charged their main weapons for a final devastating attack. Energy built up in their weapon systems, enough to vaporize the mining station completely. The humans would have perhaps 30 seconds before the end came. But in those 30 seconds, something impossible happened on the silent echo. "Commander." Sefka found his hands moving toward the weapon controls, almost without conscious thought. His entire evolutionary history screamed at him to stay hidden, to remain safe in the shadows. But the human voices called to something deeper than instinct. "Sir," Nemtor said urgently, "your biosigns are fluctuating. Are you well?" Sefka stared at his hands, trembling above the controls that could drop their stealth field and reveal them to the universe. For millions of years, his people had survived by hiding. But these humans had shown them something they had forgotten existed, the courage to stand and fight for others, even when victory seemed impossible. The human song reached its crescendo, Bobby Kim's voice leading the way as 300 people sang together in the face of death. Their words spoke of defiance and hope, of refusing to surrender even when surrounded by darkness. And in that moment, Zefka made a choice that would change two species forever. His hand slammed down on the weapon control, dropping the silent Echo's stealth field and targeting the pirate ships. For the first time in their history, the Valhari had chosen to fight instead of hide. The battle was about to become very different. The universe changed in an instant. Where empty space had been moments before, a ship appeared like a ghost becoming solid. The silent Echo dropped its stealth field with a shimmer of bent light, revealing its sleek silver hull to both humans and pirates alike. The pirate leader's confident laugh died in his throat. "What is that thing?" he demanded, staring at sensors that had detected nothing until this moment. The silent Echo was beautiful in a way that human ships were not. Where? Human vessels were built for function with thick armor and obvious weapons. The Valhari ship seemed to flow like liquid metal. It was larger than the pirate vessels, but moved with impossible grace, as if the laws of physics were merely suggestions. On the mining station, Bobby Kim's song faltered as he stared through the viewing port. "Commander Martinez," he whispered, "are you seeing this?" Jake Martinez felt his heart skip a beat. In 30 years of military service, he had never seen a ship design like this. It was clearly not human, which meant first contact protocols should apply. But there was no time for diplomatic procedure, with pirates preparing to destroy his station. "Unknown vessel," he broadcast. "This is Commander Jake Martinez of Mining Station 7. Identify yourself." On the Silent Echoes bridge, Commander Zefka realized he had no idea how to answer. The Velhari had protocols for observation and hiding, but none for revealing themselves to alien species. His bioelectrical signals flickered with uncertainty as his crew looked to him for guidance. "Sir," Nimtor said urgently, "the pirate ships are targeting us. They're charging weapons." Quinvey worked frantically at her station. "I'm analyzing their weapon systems. Primitive plasma cannons and kinetic missiles. They cannot penetrate our shields, but the human station is still in danger." The pirate leader's voice crackled across the communication channels, harsh with anger and fear. "I don't know who you are, but this is our prize. Leave now, or we'll destroy you along with these human forms." Zefka felt something strange happening to his bioelectrical patterns. The human song had changed something in his nervous system, awakening responses that had been dormant for millions of years. Where once he would have calculated odds and retreated to safety, now he felt something his ancestors might have called righteous anger. "Nimtor," he ordered, "target their weapon systems. Disable, but do not destroy unless they force us to." "Sir?" Nimtor's antenna twitched with surprise. "We are engaging in combat?" "The Council will demand explanations." "Then we will give them explanations," Zefka replied. "Fire." The Silent Echo's weapons were works of art compared to the crude cannons of the pirates. Beams of pure energy, controlled at the quantum level, reached out across space with surgical precision. The first pirate ship's weapons simply ceased to exist, vaporized so cleanly that the hull remained intact. The second ship tried to run, but Velhari targeting systems were far beyond human or pirate technology. Another precise beam disabled its engines, leaving it drifting helplessly in space. The third ship, commanded by the pirate leader himself, unleashed everything it had at the Silent Echo. Plasma bolts and explosive missiles struck the alien vessels. Shields and vanished like raindrops hitting a mountain. "Impossible," the pirate leader snarled. "Nothing can absorb that much firepower." But the Silent Echo barely registered the attack. Its shields were designed to deflect the energy weapons of species far more advanced than these crude raiders. Zefka almost felt sorry for them as his ship's weapons reached out one final time. The pirate leader's ship went dark, its power systems carefully disabled rather than destroyed. 3 vessels that had threatened hundreds of human lives now drifted powerless in space, their crews alive but helpless. On the mining station, stunned silence filled the communication channels. The mysterious ship had appeared from nowhere and defeated 3 pirate vessels in less than 2 minutes, using weapons that seemed beyond imagination. Bobby Kim was the first to find his voice. "Unknown vessel, this is Bobby Kim of Mining Station 7. Thank you. You saved our lives." The words carried across space to the Silent Echo, where Quinvey translated them for her crewmates. But translation was hardly necessary. Even the Velhari could hear the gratitude and wonder in the young human's voice. "He is speaking to us directly," Quinvey observed. "Not to his commander, or through official channels. He addresses us as equals." Zefka found himself responding before he could stop himself. The communication systems of the Silent Echo were sophisticated enough to convert his bioelectrical speech into human audio patterns. "We hear you, Bobby Kim of Mining Station 7. Are your people injured?" The simple question sent shockwaves through both ships. First contact between species usually involved months of careful preparation, diplomatic protocols, and cultural analysis. Instead, it was happening in the aftermath of a battle, with a young communications officer and an alien commander who had acted on impulse. Some injuries, but nothing serious. Bobby replied, his voice filled with amazement. You can understand us? You speak our language? We have been observing your people for some time, Zefka admitted, immediately regretting the words. The council would be furious when they learned of the unauthorized contact. Commander Martinez took control of the communication. Unknown vessel, I am Jake. Martinez, commander of this station. I don't know who you are or where you came from, but you have our eternal gratitude. How can we thank you? Queen V listened to the exchange with growing fascination. The humans showed no fear of their mysterious rescuers, only curiosity and genuine appreciation. Most species the Velarai had studied would have demanded explanations or suspected ulterior motives. Your gratitude is sufficient, Zefka replied carefully. We will secure the disabled pirate vessels and ensure they cause no further trouble. But Bobby Kim's voice came back, warm with human emotion. Wait, please don't leave yet. We've been listening to alien voices for the first time in human history. Could we could we talk? Just for a little while? On the Silent Echoes Bridge, 3 Velhari looked at each other with uncertainty. Their entire culture was built around avoiding exactly this kind of contact. But the human voices had changed something fundamental in their thinking. I want to know about your song, Quinby said suddenly, surprising herself. When your station was in danger, you made harmonious sounds together. We have never encountered anything like it. Bobby laughed, and the sound made the Velhari instruments flutter with harmonic resonances. You mean when we were singing? That's just something humans do when we're scared or happy, or, well, when we feel anything strongly. Music helps us. Remember, we're not alone. Not alone, Zefka repeated thoughtfully. It was a concept the Velhari had forgotten long ago. Their species had become so focused on individual survival that they had lost the ability to find strength in unity. Would you teach us? Quinvey asked, ignoring the shocked bioelectrical signals from her crewmates. Would you teach us to make these harmonious sounds? Bobby's voice carried obvious delight. You want to learn human music? That's amazing. Okay, let's start with something simple. It's called Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. It's usually the first song human children learn. And so, in the vast emptiness of space between the stars, the first music lesson between species began. Bobby Kim's voice carried the simple melody. Across the void, while 3 Velhari listened with wonder to sounds they had never imagined possible. It was not the formal first contact that diplomats would have planned. It was something far more important, the beginning of friendship between 2 species who had more in common than either had dreamed. The pirates and their disabled ships could only listen in confusion as human laughter mixed with alien harmonics, creating something entirely new in the galaxy. They had come seeking treasure and found themselves witnesses to history. In the days to come, politicians and military leaders would argue about protocols and procedures. But the real first contact had already happened in the space between a young human's song and an ancient species' first taste of courage. The universe had become a much more interesting place. News traveled fast in both human and Velhari space. Within hours of the first contact at Mining Station 7, communication networks buzzed with reports of the impossible encounter. On Earth, Admiral Helen Brooks called an emergency meeting of the Defense Council. In the hidden depths of Velhari space, Elder Vexmore summoned the High Council to address what they saw as a catastrophic breach of protocol. But on Mining Station 7, none of the political chaos mattered. Bobby Kim sat at his repaired communication console, teaching alien beings how to sing human lullabies. No, Bobby laughed as the Velhari attempted row, row, row your boat for the 5th time. You're thinking too much about the technical aspects. Music isn't just about hitting the right notes. It's about feeling. Pienve's bioelectrical patterns flickered with frustration. But our vocal structures are different from yours. We communicate through electrical impulses, not air vibrations. How can we create the same sounds? You don't have to sound exactly like us, Bobby explained patiently. Listen to this. He began humming a simple tune, then gradually added words. Amazing grace. How sweet the sound. But halfway through, he stopped singing and began tapping out the rhythm on his console, letting the melody continue in clicks and beeps. On the silent echo, Quinvy suddenly understood. She began pulsing her bioelectrical signals in rhythm with Bobby's tapping, creating patterns of light that matched the human melody. Nimtor joined in, then Commander Zefka himself, until the Velhari bridge glowed with synchronized patterns of communication. That's it, Bobby exclaimed, watching his instruments detect the alien light patterns. You're making music with light instead of sound. It's beautiful. For 3 days, the unlikely cultural exchange continued. The mining station crew shared stories, jokes, and songs with their alien friends. In return, the Velhari explained their technology, their peaceful philosophy, and their long history of hiding from danger. Jake Martinez found himself serving as an unofficial ambassador, something he had never expected when he signed up to run a mining operation. So your people have been watching us for 3 years? He asked during one of their conversations. It is our way, Zefka explained. We observe, we learn, but we do not interfere. It has kept us safe for millions of your years. But you interfered to save us, Jake pointed out. What changed? There was a long pause before Quinvay answered. Your music. When young Bobby sang while facing death, it awakened something in us that we had forgotten. For the first time in our history, we wanted to stand and fight instead of hide and watch. The conversation was interrupted by urgent signals from both human and Velhari space. Admiral Brooks arrived with a fleet of human ships, while Elder Vexmore brought a delegation of Velhari vessels to reclaim their wayward crew. The formal meetings that followed were tense and awkward. Admiral Brooks, a stern woman with gray hair and sharp eyes, wanted to know everything about Velhari technology and capabilities. Elder Vexmore, speaking through complex light patterns that hurt human eyes to watch, demanded the immediate return of the silent echo and punishment for the crew's unauthorized contact. You have violated our most sacred laws, Vexmore declared in translated speech. For millions of years, we have survived by remaining hidden. You have exposed us to unknown dangers. With respect, Admiral Brooks replied, your people saved 300 human lives. That deserves gratitude, not punishment. But the real breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A human colony ship called New Hope had been traveling to establish a settlement when they received news of the first contact. The ship's captain, Carl Thompson, made a detour to witness history in the making. On board New Hope were 200 families, including 60 children between the ages of 5 and 15. When the children learned there were aliens nearby, they begged their parents to let them say hello. Please, 10-year-old Amy Foster asked her mother, can we sing for them? Bobby said they liked music. Dr. Amy Foster, the ship's chief scientist, realized this might be exactly what the tense diplomatic situation needed. Children had a way of cutting through adult complications and finding simple truths. Admiral Brooks, she suggested, what if we let the children make contact? No politics, no military concerns, just kids being kids. Brooks was skeptical, but Jake Martinez supported the idea. The first real contact happened with Bobby, who's barely out of his teens himself. Maybe children are exactly what we need. Elder Vexmore was horrified at the suggestion. You would expose your young to unknown aliens? This proves humans are too reckless for contact. But Quenvy had been listening to the human children's voices over the communication channels, and something about their innocent curiosity called to her. Elder Vexmore, she said carefully, Perhaps we should hear what they have to say, for research purposes only. A compromise was reached reluctantly. The children of New Hope would be allowed one brief communication with the Velhari under strict supervision from both species. What happened next changed everything. Little Amy Foster stepped up to the communication console, her voice clear and unafraid. "Hello, alien friends. My name is Amy. Thank you for saving the mining people. We brought you a present." Without waiting for translation or permission, she began to sing. But this wasn't a complex human song with difficult words and cultural references. It was Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, the same simple melody Bobby had taught the Velhari days earlier. One by one, the other children joined in. 60 young voices blended together in perfect harmony, creating something that transcended language and species barriers. The song spoke of wonder at the vastness of space, of curiosity about distant lights in the darkness. On the silent echo, the Velhari crew found themselves responding instinctively, their bioelectrical patterns synchronized with the children's voices, creating cascading waves of light that pulsed in rhythm with the music. But the real surprise came when Elder Vexmore's own ship began to glow. The ancient Velhari, despite his stern disapproval, found his nervous system responding to the children's song just as the silent echo crew had responded to Bobby's desperate singing days earlier. "What is happening to us?" Vexmore demanded, his bioelectrical signals fluctuating wildly. Quinn-V, monitoring the reactions of both species, made a discovery that would reshape their understanding of communication itself. "Elder, the human vocal patterns are triggering resonance in our bioelectrical systems. It's not just their technology or their bravery that affects us. It's something deeper." Admiral Brooks watched in amazement as both human children and adult Velhari began creating the same rhythmic patterns, one through voice and the other through light. "It's like they're designed to work together," she murmured. The song ended, but its effects lingered. For the first time since contact began, both species were completely synchronized, their communication patterns flowing together like streams, joining a river. Young Amy Foster looked up at the adults around her with the simple wisdom that only children possessed. "See? We can be friends. Music makes everyone happy." Elder Vexmore stared at the display screens showing the unprecedented bioelectrical harmony between species. His entire worldview, built on millions of years of hiding and isolation, cracked like an eggshell. "Perhaps," he said slowly, "our ancestors forgot something important when they learned to hide. Perhaps some things are worth the risk of being seen." Admiral Brooks nodded, her military caution tempered by the wonder of what she had witnessed. "Maybe some partnerships are worth taking chances for." The formal negotiations that followed would take weeks. But the real diplomacy had already happened in the space between a child's song and an ancient species' rediscovered courage. Two civilizations had found each other, not through advanced technology or careful protocols, but through the simple act of making beautiful sounds together in the darkness of space. The galaxy would never be the same. 6 months had passed since the first meeting between humans and Velhari. The galaxy had settled into an uneasy peace as both species worked to establish formal diplomatic relations. Mining Station 7 had become a symbol of friendship between the stars, and Bobby Kim found himself famous throughout human space as the young man who sang to aliens. But peace was about to be shattered. The warning came from the deepest monitoring stations at the edge of known space. Massive ships were moving toward the solar system, their energy signatures unlike anything in human databases. The vessels were enormous, each one larger than a human city, and they traveled in perfect formation. Admiral Brooks stood in the command center of the Earth Defense Force, studying the approaching fleet with growing dread. "How many ships?" she asked. 200 confirmed, possibly more. reported Commander Tony Walsh. They'll reach the outer system in 72 hours. Admiral, these aren't pirates or raiders. This is a full military invasion force. On the Silent Echo, now stationed openly. Near Earth as part of the new alliance, Commander Zeph Ka received the same reports with a terror that went bone deep. He recognized the energy signatures, the ship formations, the ruthless precision of movement. The Kresh Empire, he whispered, his bioelectrical signals flickering with ancient fear. They have found us. Quinn Lee looked up from her sensor readings, her own patterns dimmed with dread. How is that possible? We have hidden from them for thousands of years. Our stealth field, Zefka realized. When we dropped it to save the humans, we revealed our location. The Kresh have been tracking the signal ever since. Nim Tor's voice was barely a whisper. Commander, we must flee. Gather our people and run to the deep void. It is the only way our species can survive. But Zefka found himself hesitating, and that hesitation would have been impossible 6 months earlier. The old Valhari response to the Kresh was always the same: hide, run, survive at any cost. But the humans had taught them something else on Earth. President Maria Santos called an emergency session of the Global Council. The news of an approaching alien invasion sent shockwaves through human civilization. Some demanded immediate evacuation of the outer colonies. Others called for every available ship to prepare for battle. What do we know about these Kresh? President Santos Admiral Brooks during the briefing. Only what our Valhari allies have told us, Brooks replied grimly. The Kresh Empire has conquered hundreds of systems. They see other species as either resources to be harvested or obstacles to be eliminated. They've been hunting the Valhari across the galaxy for millennia. And now they're coming here because the Valhari helped us? That's correct, Madam President. The Valhari revealed themselves to save our people, and now their ancient enemy has tracked them to our doorstep. President Santos was quiet for a long moment. Around the council table, the leaders of Earth's nations struggled with an impossible choice. They could demand that the Valhari leave human space, taking their dangerous enemy with them, or they could stand and fight beside the aliens, who had risked everything to save human lives. The debate was settled by an unexpected voice. Bobby Kim, now serving as a cultural liaison between species, stepped forward during the open comment period. 6 months ago, 300 humans were about to die, he said simply. The Valhari could have stayed hidden and watched it happen. Instead, they chose to risk everything to save strangers. Now it's our turn to choose. On Mining Station 7, Jake Martinez gathered his crew for their own emergency meeting. The station had been reinforced and turned into a joint human Valhari research facility, but it was nowhere near ready for military action. The Defense Force is evacuating all civilian installations, he announced. We've got 12 hours to pack up and head for Earth. But Engineer Lisa Wong shook her head. Commander, what about our Valhari friends? The Silent Echo is staying to fight. Are we really going to run away and leave them to face their ancient enemy alone? Jake looked around at his crew, the same people who had sung while facing death. 6 months earlier, he saw the same determination in their eyes, now that had impressed the Valhari during the pirate attack. Anyone who wants to evacuate can take the next transport, he said. But I'm staying. The Valhari stood with us when we needed help. Now we stand with them. Every single person in the room volunteered to stay. The final decision came from an unexpected source. The colony ship New Hope, carrying 200 families to their new home, changed course and headed back toward Earth. When Admiral Brooks demanded an explanation, Captain Carl Thompson's response was simple. Our children made friends with the Valhari. You don't abandon friends when they're in trouble. As the Kresh fleet drew closer, an amazing thing happened throughout human space. Ships that should have been fleeing toward safety instead turned back to join the defense. Mining vessels, exploration ships, even civilian transports armed themselves with whatever weapons they could find. The Velhari watched this mobilization with growing amazement. Elder Vex Moore, now serving as ambassador to the Human Alliance, struggled to understand what he was seeing. "They are risking their entire species to defend us," he said to Quinvey. "This makes no logical sense. We brought this danger to them." "No," Quinvey replied, watching the tactical displays as human and Velhari ships took up defensive positions. "We brought them the opportunity to do what humans do best. They stand together when others need help." The battle began at the edge of the solar system. The Kresh fleet attacked with overwhelming force, their massive ships unleashing weapons that could crack planets. The combined human-Velhari defense force was outnumbered 10-1 and outgunned by technology that was centuries more advanced out, but the humans had learned something from their Velhari allies, and the Velhari had learned something from their human friends. Working together, they fought with a coordination that surprised both sides. The turning point came when young Bobby Kim, now aboard the command ship with Admiral Brooks, made a desperate suggestion as their forces fell back under the Kresh assault. "Admiral, what if we tried the thing that started all this? What if we sang?" Brooks looked at him as if he had lost his mind. "Sing? Bobby, this is a battle, not a concert. The Velhari say our voices do something to their nervous systems, Bobby. Pressed on. Something that makes them braver, stronger. What if that works in reverse? What if we can help them fight better?" It was insane. It violated every military protocol ever written. But Admiral Brooks had seen what human voices could do to Velhari courage, and desperate times called for desperate measures. "All ships." She broadcast on every frequency. "This is Admiral Brooks. Begin Operation Harmony." What followed became legend throughout the galaxy. On every human ship, voices began to sing. Not the complex battle hymns of Earth's military tradition, but the simple songs that children learned first. "Twinkle, twinkle, little star. Row, row, row your boat." "Amazing Grace." The effect on the Velhari fleet was immediate and dramatic. Their bioelectrical systems synchronized with the human voices, creating coordination beyond anything they had ever achieved. Ships that had been built for hiding and running suddenly fought with the precision of a single organism. But the real surprise came when the children aboard New Hope joined the song. 60 young voices, led by Amy Foster, sang the same lullaby they had shared months earlier. Their clear, innocent harmony cut through the chaos of battle like a beacon of hope. On the Kresh command ship, the alien warlord who had hunted the Velhari for millennia stared in confusion at his tactical displays. The enemy fleet was fighting with impossible coordination, and strange harmonic frequencies were disrupting his ship's targeting systems. "What is that sound?" he demanded, but his subordinates had no answer. The Kresh had conquered hundreds of species, but they had never encountered anything like the combination of human courage and Velhari technology. Guided by the simple power of song, the battle raged for 6 hours. When it ended, the Kresh fleet was in full retreat, their ships damaged and their confidence shattered. They had expected to find the same hiding, frightened Velhari they had always known. Instead, they found a species that had learned to stand and fight, supported by allies who refused to abandon their friends Dot as the last Kresh ship disappeared into hyperspace. A cheer went up from every human and Velhari vessel in the fleet. But the real celebration came from an unexpected source. On the silent Echo, Commander Zeph K stood before his crew and did something no Velhari had done in living memory. He began to sing Dot. It wasn't a human song. His bioelectrical voice couldn't produce human sounds. But it was music nonetheless, patterns of light and energy that spoke of courage discovered, friendship found, and fear overcome. One by one, other Valhari ships joined in. Then human voices added their harmony, creating something that had never existed before in the galaxy. A victory song, shared between species who had learned that together they could face any darkness dot in the months that followed. The alliance between humans and Valhari grew stronger. Other species, hearing of the battle where Song had defeated an empire, came forward to join the growing coalition. The galaxy became a safer place as hidden civilizations emerged from the shadows, inspired by the example of courage over fear. Bobby Kim, now Admiral Kim of the Interspecies Cultural Exchange of